All right, everybody. Good morning. We made it to game day. It is Thursday morning, and the Seahawks have the Thursday night slot in about 8 hours. The Seahawks will be kicking off in Dallas. And obviously, this week has been a bit of a struggle. You get blown out at home by your division rival in a Thanksgiving primetime game. It it can't help but knock you down a little bit. If you weren't already knocked down, I think a lot of people were already pretty knocked down, but the season doesn't stop just because the Seahawks aren't playing perfect football. And if at any point in the next couple weeks the Seahawks wake up and beat one of these upcoming opponents, I think we're all going to have to at least stop and think about it for a little bit, because then it'll be like, wait a minute here. We have a winning record. We just beat one of the best teams. Like, if they choose to do it in the next few weeks here, not go on this 5 game losing streak that so many people are already taking for granted, it would definitely silence a little bit of the pessimism. It would have to. It's not like we lose a bunch of games in a row and then we beat the Patriots or we beat the Giants. No, if we beat one of these teams coming up, that's not something I'm going to just dismiss, and I don't think anybody should. But it has to happen, because the other side of that is teams do not go on 5 game losing streaks very often unless they're really bad. And I'm not saying I think this team is really bad, like in the same way that a team like the Panthers or Patriots are bad, but to go on a losing streak like that, there has to be a pretty extreme amount of incompetence. And I think it is a very, very poor indictment of a head coach that allows his team to lose that many games in a row and not find a way to win one, even bad teams. Like, to my knowledge, the last time the Seahawks were on a 5 game losing streak, Mike Holmgren was still the coach in 2008. George W. Bush was still the president. I actually remember making videos that year, and that team was really, really bad. We have not gone on a 5 game losing streak since. So yeah, there's a pretty intense swing of emotion that can hit here. But let's focus on this one going into Dallas. There are some things here to feel a little bit positive about. That Cowboys team has kind of made their name on beating up terrible teams and running up the score and just front running. And if this Seahawks team is even a decent team, they should at least be able to punch back. Like, you look at these teams that they just thwomp on, most of them are just bad or on the cusp of being bad, right? Like, they thwomped on the Giants twice. The Giants are a bad team, and quite honestly, I suspect that by the end of the year they're going to be one of the worst teams. I don't know how they won a couple of games here, but I think that those will be the last games they win this year. So a lot of the stuff they've done has just been, they play a normal game for a little bit, they get up because they have more talent than the other team, and then, oh, there's the pick six, there's the turnovers, there's the long touchdown on a defense that bit too aggressively on play action, and then you look up and it's like, oh wow, Cowboys are up by 5 scores. But did they dominate the whole game that way? Not necessarily. And I do think, I honestly think that this Cowboys team is still, they're still kind of paper tigers. There is a little bit of that going on here. I don't think the Cowboys are on the level of the true top teams in this league. I don't think the Cowboys are a real Super Bowl contender. I think they're a contender to make the playoffs, of course, win a game, maybe two, and make some noise. But I don't think they're going to be able to handle a team like the Niners. They usually match up well with the Eagles, but I don't consider them to be, from week to week, a better team than the Eagles. And I don't consider them to be better than the best teams in the AFC either. So there is a little bit of that going on here, where if you can weather the storm and stay close with them for the first couple of quarters, maybe 2.5, 3 quarters, and you're in the fourth quarter and the game is still alive, I think that team will wilt a little bit and you can find a way to win. But if they get on top of you, it's just over. I mean, this team is like Mike Tyson. This is the perfect Mike Tyson team. They get in there and they're trying to just overwhelm you. And if you let them overwhelm you, you're done. But if you can stand up to it, if you can hit back once or twice, I'm not convinced they're going to respond. Honestly, to me, this Cowboys team is still that team that played against the 49ers in week 5 in a very hyped game and then lost 42-10. Like, to me, they're still kind of front runners. When things are good, they're good. But when things start going bad, when it's wartime, it's not the same. So I will say that. The second element at play here is this is the textbook definition of a trap game for the Cowboys, because next week they play the Eagles and they have to win that game if they want any hope of winning the division. That game is huge for them. So this is kind of the textbook definition of a trap game for the Cowboys. So there are some things working in the favor of the Seahawks here, and I could see, like, if you want to pick one game over the next 3 for the Seahawks to win, I do kind of think it's this one. But do I feel good about it? No. Bottom line is, this Cowboys defense is one of the best in the league, and this Seahawks offense has shown no real ability to produce against top defenses. They've had good games against good defenses or decent defenses like Detroit, but when it comes to the top defenses, it's just shut it down. And I think our best bet in this game was Ken Walker, because the one thing the Cowboys might struggle a little bit with on defense is stopping somebody like K9 and his speed. But you don't have K9. You've got Charbonnet, and Charbonnet's style of running, I feel like, kind of plays into the strength of the Cowboys, because he's not somebody who's going to get the edge on you. He's not somebody who's going to outrun you. He's somebody who wants to run through you, and that's great. I do not think it is the ideal for this particular matchup. And without that, there just isn't really a lot to say. This Cowboys team brings an elite level of pass rush from multiple places. You've got, of course, Parsons, but you've also got DeMarcus Lawrence, and you've got Odigizua in the middle there. So it's not just Parsons. Like, you can worry about him all you want to. You can build your whole offensive game plan around stopping Parsons, but you've got other things to worry about too. They don't really miss Van Der Esch in the middle. They've gotten good middle linebacker play out of Damone Clark. He's been a good investment for them so far. And their secondary has not really missed a beat without Trayvon Diggs. So this is a star-studded defense, and right now our offense is so remedial. Like, this looks like the offense that we had in 2021 when Wilson came back from the injury and was trying to play when his finger didn't work. But supposedly our quarterback has fingers that work, so it's not nearly as excusable. So I don't know. I don't know how I can feel good about that matchup. The main way you beat the Cowboys is by, I would say, attacking the middle of the field. I think you can. You can go after the middle of the field a little bit, which we don't do. We throw out routes that Deron Bland is very excited about, by the way. If we throw as many out routes against the Cowboys as we did against the Niners, we're done. Deron Bland is going to destroy us. I'm sorry, but I don't see any way he doesn't get a pick 6 if we're just going to throw out routes all game like we did against the Niners. And beat them with speed to the edge on the ground. And no K9. I know people are excited about McIntosh. I am too. Hopefully he plays, but he's not really a guy who's going to beat you to the edge either. So I don't see how the offense does that well in this game. And again, this is a team that gets to garbage time and they can still pile it up because their defense is so well-rounded. There's really no weakness here. Maybe a little bit at cornerback depth because they lost Diggs, but they're good at safety with guys like Hooker and Curse. Like I said, they're pretty good at linebacker. Maybe they're a little bit weak on the defensive line in a couple of spots, but they can easily remedy that by just going to their nickel packages and not letting guys like Mozzie Smith and Hankins, I think they have Hankins, on the field. So I think that the offense will be a little bit better just because there's so much pressure on this offense to do something because it's been so bad lately. But I don't see how it's good, and I don't see how it's good enough to win. And then you got the Cowboys on offense. They're clicking on that side of the ball too. And I understand that they're going through a peak right now, and it is the nature of NFL teams to go through peaks and valleys. So I think a little bit of a crash is due to come. Maybe it comes this week, but I look at it right now. I'm like, okay, this Cowboys team offensively, their weakness is their rushing attack a little bit, right? Like Pollard is a mediocre running back one, and they don't run the ball that well. Well, that's cool and all, but what does it matter if they're going to convert every 3rd and 8? Because they've got those receivers working now. Cooks has come along, CD's always been there, and of course Gallup is. People forget about Gallup a little bit, but he's still pretty good. And we have the cornerbacks to play with him, but we don't whip them out. We don't use them. We go back to our old stuff that doesn't work very well and completely wastes our talent. Like in a game like this, you should be getting Witherspoon to follow CeeDee Lamb wherever he goes. Just man up, follow CeeDee Lamb all over the field, and live or die there. Will we do that? Of course not. It's not even a consideration in our minds. Like, we barely play man. Of course, we're not going to have our top corner follow a receiver. And the thing is, I say all that. If we're being straight honest here, one thing about Dak Prescott, who is playing amazing football right now, like, no cap, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. No, that's not me, like, being facetious or anything. He is that good right now. There's really not much you can do to him that is throwing him off his game. He can beat zone, he can beat man, he can beat the blitz, he can beat rushing with 4. It's not a Brock Purdy situation where there were some things where I thought we could get on him. Dak doesn't have weaknesses. So I would like to see us man up. I would like to see us play aggressively. I would like to see us sell out to stop the pass. I would like to see us throw some aggressive blitzing in there, maybe some 6-man or even 7-man blitzes just to try something different, something we haven't put on tape yet. But we ask for these things every week and they don't come, and we watch the games and the results are what they are. The defense is bad. Defense is somewhere between below average and bad, and it doesn't really make sense why they're so married to those results, but they are. So, yeah, this Cowboys offensive line has been really good this year, except for Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele's bad. I think we can do some damage on him, but other than that, their line's pretty solid. They've even got a little bit going with Jake Ferguson at tight end with the loss of Dalton Schultz. So, not an offense with a lot of weaknesses in that passing attack. Like, their weakness is the running game. They don't run the ball all that well. So, is that something that's going to matter in a game like this? Is this just going to be one of those classic Seahawks defense games of the last 5 years where the other team doesn't even try to run the ball because they know they don't need to? That's what it feels like. So I think there are some things working in our favor here, just not enough. This is another team that has better players than us. This is one of those teams like the Niners. They have more talent than us. I can't even sit here and say we have better players. Like, there's no doubt in my mind we have much better players than the Rams, and us losing to them twice this year is a horrible indictment on Pete Carroll. Like, just a massive blinking, flashing light that Pete Carroll is not a good coach anymore. Games like this, I can't say that. They have better players. And I like our players, but the Cowboys roster is pretty stacked at most positions. And if they had done something with the trade deadline, like trade for Derrick Henry, I might see that as a team that could win it all. I could. As of right now, I do think that they will wilt against the best teams in the league, but that's not us. 27-17 Dallas. Wouldn't shock me if the Cowboys get some garbage time scores in the fourth quarter, because that's what they do. But I'll go with 27-17. That feels right. Give me some reason to have some optimism, guys, because I really don't see how we beat the Niners or Eagles. This is your chance. It really feels like the season's over if you don't win this game. And the team is saying the right things this week, but that's going to wear its welcome out real quick if they don't actually go out there and win. See you guys later. More videos coming. Got a lot of stuff to talk about later today before the game. Go Hawks, and Let make it happen.